Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss on the outcome of the 35th GST Council meeting which happened recently. We are here to discuss on the outcome with Mr. CA Madhukar and Hiregange, who is a renowned IDT expert and an ex-chairman in the IDT Council for ICI, and Mr. Venugopal Gella, who is an ex-member of the IDT Council at ICI. So, sir, given that this was the first meeting under the new FM, how do you judge the direction the council has given?
I think one of the crowning glories of this government has been that the GST Council has been very proactive, and the fact that it was also taken up in earnest is a very good indication of what the government is looking at and trying to deliver.
Okay.
So I think the direction of ongoing reforms and also addressing the needs of the trade is very much apparent. It's of course a fact that there are many other issues, pending issues in the GST Council which also require to be addressed. So I think anyway it's a good start, and let's hope that more and more of the pending issues are also cleared out.
Sure. What do you think about the key decisions which were taken in the GST Council meeting?
I think I am a little, I would say, disappointed from the point that there are some lacuna in the law and there are lacunas in the filing system itself. Now if I look at the lacuna in the law, they don't seem to be getting addressed. For example, if I were to look at the objective of GST is to broad base the taxation, it is to avoid cascading, it is to ensure that the law becomes simple. This last one is very important, and also it is fair to the people who are required to comply with it, including the small and medium enterprises who may not have the present level of expertise required to file any of this. So I think in that part of it, I think government needs to spend equal amount of time on the important things and not only take care of the important and urgent. This is a normal principle of good governance. The changes, too many changes in the law which have happened in the past few years has also not been addressed, like you have section 2, section 3 not being in place, unreasonable restrictions in the credit which courts may read down, as was done recently by the Orissa High Court in the case of ITC, and even Delhi High Court has given notice to the government. Even the mandatory penalties without a malified penalties are not fair. Penalties should not be a method of collecting additional revenue nor interest. The tax should be what the government should focus on. If I look at it, there are some thought processes like in this regime, you have a place of supply where even the largest enterprises who are tax compliant, they are making mistakes in charging either IGST or CGST plus SGST. And this actually doesn't make a difference. Government gets its revenue. At that point, insisting that you pay the right tax and then going for a refund is something which trade cannot do. They will not be able to do. So they will try their best to avoid it. These type of things should not be done. The refunds which have been a cause of concern, and also I think our FM has been focusing on that in the few interviews I have heard. There also we have to have some sort of accountability for the administration added to this entire exercise of giving refund automatically. The tax rate difference between credit and tax payable also is a cause of heartburn. And I think as far as the GST portal is concerned, Venugopal is a far better person to speak on that.
Yeah. The council meeting has given a lot of changes which is now business going to take care of, and especially on the new returns that is going to come up. And one good news for everyone being annual return being extended. Like Madhukar sir rightly mentioned, there are issues on the portal too. It's not that the trade is requiring a extension. There are a lot of anomalies in the form. There are values which have come which needs to be explained. There is no underlying explanation of the values which are auto-populated. So the taxpayers are confused as to what needs to be taken care. And there are a lot of ICI has taken a lot of initiative in giving education to the members. But if you see the form has come without any detailed circular. Later we got a press note explaining further. Now even the speakers' views have changed time to time, because since there is not much information about it, so the speakers felt, okay, maybe this is the intention of the form and this is the right numbers to be disclosed in this place.
Right.
As the form was getting filled, then the challenges came up in, okay, data is not getting uploaded on the portal, or other challenges that came up. So it was a real need that the form extension was called for. And there's nothing to blame on the GSTN portal, but okay, the expectation is that it should work as simple as it is. Maybe the notifications which is released, okay, then the forms are built on the GSTN portal. Maybe the timeline given by the government is not sufficient for the GSTN to be ready. But in the meantime, the anxiety on the taxpayers increases, because as the due date come near, and no one wants to file a wrong data,
Right.
because the compliances under GST is to be maintained especially bigger companies, they want to be compliant. So, and non-compliance would yield bigger issues. And that is where I think it's the right time for them to extend the due date. But again, the change in the new forms, again the anxiousness comes in, that okay, how will the portal support? Maybe whenever something new comes, the focus is more on understanding what is the new thing which is coming up. But parallelly now under GST regime, it is that we want to understand what is the new thing which is coming up. Parallelly we also want to know, is that how the portal would look like? And what are the things as an end users they should be geared up so that they can handle the challenges that would be coming up on the portal.
Right.
So GSTN portal has become a key decider also in most of the things. That's how I would place it.
Sure. So I believe that the extension of the GSTN 9 form is welcomed, and in the council meeting, the council also talked about a crackdown on the issues or crackdown on the GST evasion. Now, what is your take on the steps that they have taken, and how do you think this will help in cracking down the GST evasion? Sir?
Yeah, this is a very big issue actually. And in the time when the government is looking at the industry becoming tax compliant as against evading the taxes, when their expectation is that along with that there have to be some checks and balances to ensure that. Now the e-way bill which is there seems to be the biggest deterrent as of today. But again, it comes with certain I would say restrictions on rights which are questionable. Section 129 certainly cannot be invoked where you make a simple mistake and then your truck gets seized and then you pay penalties and everything, and at the end of the story you'll get it back. So therefore, while making the law itself, quite a lot of due care is required. Example, I would say that two things the government needs to do, and these are not my original ideas. In 2018, we have submitted a very big representation. Viewers can also go to the ICI website, look at the representations of March 2018. A large number of suggestions were made on how to augment revenue. And I think there is a need to ensure that certain checks should be there. For example, the multiple enterprises creation is possible in GST. If I am a family with about 3 brothers and their children and wife, theoretically I can create about 1000 PAN numbers in a combination of with children, with wife, then some of the people, more than 1000 actually. So which means that if I am under composition, I am easily able to do 1000 crores by just paying 1%. And when I am doing that, where I purchase from, whether I am purchasing from unregistered sources, etc., also can become a question. Because I probably would buy from people who are not registered. Now this is a very serious loophole which is there. In the excise regime, there was a concept called clubbing of clearances of units working in tandem. Such a provision is not there in GST, and therefore, as I understand, a large number of enterprises in the sector of FMCG who are down the line are resorting to these type of practices, which is ensuring that the tax is going off at the maximum value added stage, which is the last stage. So I think that the government has to crack down on this, but it has to also keep in mind that for almost 30-40 years, these type of unorganized businesses have been fostered and given facilities of not keeping accounts. Sudden change to make them disciplined is not so easy, especially for people who have been in this business for 30 years and actually not done any serious accounting. So suddenly you are asking them to change their ways. It's a little difficult. But I think the government has to do it, there's no doubt about it. And unfortunately in India, my understanding is that unless there is a serious deterrent, people will not comply. There is something which is very important which is happening. If we read the newspapers, we see news on the fake invoices, the racket being busted where large number of people are involved, circular trading being busted, exporters claiming bogus refunds. If you look at all these, it's not that everybody does it in every place, but the important factor is that now using technology, government is able to swiftly come and catch the person who is not compliant, and once it's able to catch one person, then all the people who are associated with that, all the enterprises which are associated with that person, even the customers, if they are common, a pattern can be, you could say, analyzed from the data available, even they would be under cloud. And therefore the government is rightly moving on the tax evaders, and it is finding it much easier to move against them. The fact that there is also information technology in between ensures that there will be no dropped cases. Earlier in the earlier regime, the notice issue, before the notice was issued itself, there could have been some compromises, and after the notice is issued, it would be up to the satisfaction of the officer. Now you will have everything duly recorded, and I think that those enterprises who have not joined the mainstream and kept outside the tax net may find it increasingly difficult and also very, very expensive. Not only the cost factor, I think the most important aspect would be all these people may alienate their customers, which is the biggest disadvantage for any business. Once my customer is not there, my business will no longer be there. So I think that government possibly requires to take this a little further, and there's enough of data with the government to see that the non-reconciliation, unusual items are all highlighted and questioned. So I think government has to move. It's not that everything is any sector is left out. For example, there have been a recent flurry of notices for the hospitals and doctors. It's not that they don't have GST taxable activity, or the educational institutions could be the next. All these people have some taxable activity, and certainly there is a need to see that they are also made aware of what sort of liabilities are possible for them, and they also comply with the law.
So I guess the government is moving in the right direction, but there are a lot more steps which needs to be taken, to evade the tax or to reduce the tax evasion which is happening currently in the Indian economy.